The first step in hanging your Pliosaur skeleton is getting your hanging cables in place before you start removing the body from the crate. If you haven't used aircraft cable before, here's a quick tutorial. The supplies you will need are 1/16" steel aircraft cable, crimp sleeves, and wire cable clamps. Tools for hanging the cable are a cable crimper, cable cutters, and a 9/32" or appropriately sized socket or wrench for the cable clamps. Whether you're attaching cable to your hanging architecture or the hanging rings on the skeleton, the process is the same. Start by threading cable through the wire cable clamp and then a crimp sleeve. Next, thread the cable through the rings and then back through the crimp sleeve and then the wire cable clamp. The wire cable clamp is for holding the cable in place temporarily. The crimp sleeve is permanent. Once you crimp the crimp sleeve, the only way to change the length or position of the cable is to cut it and start over. For this reason, we leave the crimp sleeve uncrimped until the entire skeleton is hanging where we like it. At this stage, we use the 9/32" socket to tighten the wire cable clamp. It will hold the skeleton in place and can be loosened and adjusted as needed. When it's time to crimp the sleeve, run it down as close to the attachment hardware as possible. Your wire cable clamp is still holding all of the weight. Work the crimper over the crimp sleeve and squeeze the handles until they make a clicking sound. The crimp sleeve is now holding all of the weight and you can remove the wire cable clamp. Cut the excess cable. You're now done with this stage. You will need to hang 4 cables for the Pliosaur, 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. Space them so they roughly coincide with the hanging rings on the skeleton. If they aren't exactly in place, that's okay. You'll be adjusting cable length and tension to pose the animal anyway. Again, you need to hang these 4 cables before you remove the body of the Pliosaur from the crate. Otherwise, you'll have to hold the body section while someone hangs the cables for you. Unscrew the top and remove the lid. The side that you need to remove first is clearly labeled and has the flippers attached to it. Remove the screws and set the panel aside. You can unscrew the straps holding the flippers in place and set them aside at any time. You now need to remove the contents of the bottom of the crate. Unscrew the strap holding the tail down. Remove the tail and its supporting pillow and set it aside. Unscrew the strap holding the neck down. Remove the neck and its supporting pillow and set it aside. Unscrew the straps holding the lower jaws down. Remove the jaws and their supporting pillow and set them aside. Unscrew the strap holding the skull down. Remove the skull and its supporting pillow and set it aside. The body section is now the only part left in the crate. It's held in place by a series of 2-part steel brackets. One portion of each bracket is secured to the plywood and the other is secured to the skeleton. The 2 pieces are joined by bolts. Use a 1/2" wrench to loosen the bolts on the brackets holding the posterior, middle, and anterior portions of the body. Unbolt and carefully remove the central support pillar. Now that the bolts are loose, two people can hold the skeleton by the brackets and gently lift it out of the crate. With your cables already hung and your lift in place below your display position, enlist some help handing the main body up to the team in the lift. You will need to hold the skeleton or rest the crating brackets on your lift rails while you ascend. Raise the lift to the height you want to hang the skeleton from. There are hanging hooks at the front and rear of the body section for attaching your cables. Thread your cables through the hanging hardware and the hooks and tighten your temporary wire cable clamps. In this demonstration, we did not use crimp sleeves because we knew we would take the skeleton off display immediately after filming. You can adjust the height and position of the skeleton by varying the length of each cable. Now that you no longer need handles, you can use a 5/32 inch Allen key to loosen the set screws on the bottom of the Sentra and remove the shipping brackets. For attaching the neck, skull, lower jaws, flippers, and tail, you will need a 5/32 inch Allen key. Slide the neck into the coupler on the anterior portion of the spine. Tighten the set screw with your Allen key. Slide the skull onto the neck. The skull can be rotated to accommodate the pose you prefer. Once it's in the position you like, tighten the set screw. Slide the left lower jaw into the coupler at the bottom of the quadrate. Tighten it for now. Do the same with the right lower jaw. The lower jaws are held together at the symphysis by a pin in the left jaw that fits into a hole in the right jaw. Fit these together. You may need to loosen the set screws holding them to the quadrates a little to get them to fit well. Be careful not to loosen the set screws so much that the jaws slip out of their couplers. Once the jaws fit together, be sure to retighten those set screws. Slide the right front flipper into the coupler in the glenoid. All 4 flippers can be rotated in their sockets to accommodate your posing preference. Once the flipper is in the position you like, tighten the set screw. Attach the left front flipper. Attach the right rear flipper. Attach the left rear flipper. Slide the tail into the coupler at the posterior end of the spine. Tighten the set screw. Your skeleton is now on display. If you want to adjust its hanging position, you can loosen your wire cable clamps one at a time and lengthen or shorten your cables. If you like the position, now is the time to use your crimpers to crimp the crimp sleeves and cut away any excess cable.